Hey, it's Mr. Lum again, and we're doing some more Math 9 and looking at our exponents unit. And before we get into our new lesson, we're going to just be doing a little bit of review from the last two lessons that we did. So, last time we looked at the exponent law with for exponents, or in other words, to the power of zero, and we found that, and the rule kind of said. Um, the rule kind of said, let me get my pen started here. The rule said anything to the power of 0 is just going to equal 1. So it said something like n to the power of 0 simply just equals 1. Okay? So we're going to evaluate, or what you could do is put it on pause and try to answer all these questions. But we're going to be doing these ones right here and looking at um, minus 11 to the power of 0. So what the answer to this one is going to be is negative 1. Okay, so this one is going to be, I know it doesn't look like it's following the rule, but what you actually do first is it's negative 1 times 11 to the power of 0. So you do this 11 to the power of 0, that's 1, and then you're kind of going like times negative 1, so it's negative 1 times 1. Okay, and that's going to be, so the first answer is just negative 1. Now, when it's inside of the brackets, we have negative 11. It's everything on the inside of the brackets is the power of 0, and that's why this one is 1. So those brackets are really important. So this one's going to be a positive 1. Now we have this one right here, and we just have another power. This is going to be, again, since this is on the inside of the brackets, this is going to be negative 2 times a negative 2. And a negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 2 is 4, so this is just going to equal positive 4. Now if we wrote something like negative 2 to the power of 2 with no brackets there, it would be kind of like back to what we originally did. It'd be kind of like writing, well, our negative is on the outside, or like our kind of like our negative 1, and then we'd have our 2 times 2, and so that would be negative 1 and then times by 4. And we can see how this one up here would equal negative 4, but this one, when we have those brackets separating it, is going to be a positive 4. Now, just to do a little bit more review, if we had a negative 2 to the power of 3 right here, it'd be a negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2. And we're just going to put some brackets around everything. So that's what this one, negative 2 to the power of 3. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then we have times a negative 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. But one of them is a negative, and so it would be negative 8. Okay, so you're going to have to make sure to watch those brackets and watch those exponents as well. Now, in the last lesson, we talked about writing in scientific notation, or using powers of 10 to write a number. And the easy way to do this is kind of just go 1, 2, 3, 4. We move the decimal place right behind the first number, and so we kind of write 4.3. Since we move the decimal place 1, 2, 3, 4 times, we just write 10 to the 4. We write that 4 there for moving it 4 decimal places. Same thing for this one. We move it 1, 2, 3, 4. We always move it right after that, right after that first number there. We just write everything there. So 2, we move the decimal place all the way there. So we have to write our decimal place in its new position. So 2.3456. And we write times 10 to the 4 because we moved it 4 times. Now here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We move it 6 times, so we write 10 to the 6 right here. So we write 3 times 10 to the 6. Okay. And one last one right here. We have 3 times 10 to the 3. So this is 1, 0, 0, and 0. So we have 3 right here, so this is going to be 1,000 times 3. Okay, so 3 times 1,000 is simply 3,000. And same thing for this one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros after there because it's times 10 to the 4 times 3. And so 10,000 times 3 is 30,000. Okay, so we have 30,000 plus 3,000, and that's going to be 33,000. So a little bit of review from last time. So now we're going to be talking about some just order of operations and when we have power. So a little bit of review, hopefully from Math 8. So first off, we're going to be following some bed maths, or in other words, brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So we're going to be doing the brackets first and then exponents second. So first off, we're going to be taking a look at some of these ones. So you cannot simply just add these numbers right away. So you can't go 3 plus 2 is 5 and then to the power of 3 or something like that. So what you have to do first is you're going to be doing the exponents first, and you're going to be looking at 3 times 3 times 3. So this is going to be 3 times 3 times 3, and this is going to be 2 times 2 times 2. So 3 times 3 is 9, times another 3, that's going to be 27. 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8. Okay. Now we can add these numbers up. 27 plus 8, that's going to be 35. Okay. Now here we cannot do the same thing. We cannot start with the exponents first. First we're going to do whatever's inside the brackets first. Now in here we can do 3 plus 2. So 3 plus 2, everything inside the brackets first. 3 plus 2, that's going to be 5. And to the power of 3. And now we have 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25 times one more 5. Okay. If we take 5 groups of 25, that's going to be 125. So I kind of wrote that in the PowerPoint as well, but what I wanted you to do is put the video on pause, try doing these 5 questions, and see how you do. So hopefully you've unpaused the video, and you can check your answers and see how I did it. So first off, we're going to be doing exponents first. So 3 times 3, or 3 squared, that's going to be 9 plus 1. And that's going to simply equal 10. Now we have negative 3. Now just like in our warm-up at the beginning, we have negative 3 times a negative 3 here. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So it's going to be positive 9 plus 1. And we get the same thing, 10. Now we have the brackets kind of rearranged and the exponent moved a little bit. So now we have, if we do inside the brackets first, we have 3 plus 1, so 4. So we did inside the brackets first, and we have 4 squared. So 4 times 4, or 4 squared, is going to be 16. Again, a little bit different. Now we have 2 minus 4, so we're going to do inside the brackets first. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and we have squared. So negative 2 times negative 2, well, that's 2 negatives make a positive, and so we have, that's going to be positive 4. And for our last one, we have 2 squared. So 2 squared is going to be 4, so we have to do the exponent first. We do 2 squared first. That's 4 minus 4, and that equals 0. So hopefully you had all the right answers right there. And I also wrote in those answers there. So now we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing with powers. So we're going to take a look at this one right here and kind of go over everything what this one is about first. So same thing, we're going to be following some bed mass, and we have a little bit larger thing. So if you want to try this, again, put it on pause and give it a shot, and hopefully you can check your work right now. So first off, we're going to be doing inside the brackets first. So here we have inside the brackets, so we're going to kind of ignore this squared for a second, and we're going to be doing inside the brackets. Once we do inside the brackets, we're going to be following bed mass inside these brackets. So we're going to be looking inside these ones right here, and we see these brackets inside these brackets, and we also have an exponent, and so we're going to be doing this part first. So this is the first part that we're going to be taking a look at right here. So this is going to look kind of like 2 times, and we're going to be dealing with this part right here. So this is almost equivalent to writing -3 times -3 times -3. It's -3 squared. Sorry, -3 cubed minus 6, and then on the outside is that one right there. So we're going to be dealing with this portion first right here. So -3 times -3 is +9, and so 9 times -3, 9 times -3 is going to be -27. So we're going to write that in there. So that's going to be 2 times -27 minus 6 squared. So now we're going to go 2 times -27. So we have a positive number multiplied by a negative number. And we're going to do this part first right here because we have to do the multiplication before the subtraction right here. So we're going to do this part first. We go 2 times -27, and that's going to be so 27 times 2 is going to be 54. And that's going to be -54. We have minus 6, and we still have that to the power of 2 on the outside there. So now we have -54 minus 6. And a lot of people make this mistake, and they think that this is going to be something like 48 or something like that, or -48. But if you get confused with negative numbers, my suggestion would be draw a quick little number line and put the first number on the number line. And you always take the sign that comes before it. So we're going to put this one on the number line, and we're going to write minus 54. Okay? And then we're going to take the next numbers. We have minus 54, -54 right there, and we're going to take away 6, and so we're going to minus 6 more. So when you minus 6 more, that means you have to move in this direction. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if this was -54, this would be -55, 56, 57, 58, 59. It's going to be -60. Still have that squared on the outside. Now this seems really hard for some people. -60 times a -60. Okay, but it's not too bad, because hopefully when we when we do -60 squared, or in other words, this is the same as writing -60 times a -60. So same thing. So we have 2 negatives there. We know that this is going to be a positive. Now, if we go 6 times 6, that's going to be 36, and then we just add up all these zeros. So we have 1 0 and 2 zeros, and now we're just going to place 1 0, 2 zeros at the end. So it's going to be 3,600, or 3,600, and that's going to be our final answer right here. Okay? So I kind of wrote this out again in the PowerPoint, but now you got to see me work through it. So again, here's one that you can try, and hopefully you can do the pause the video thing again and see how you did. But we're going to do this one right now. And so we're going to go inside the brackets first. So we're going to do this one right here, and we know a few different things. First, we're going to be dealing with all these exponents. We have 5 to the power of 0, and we have 18 squared. So let's write some notes on the side right here. So I'm going to do the 18 squared first. That's going to be 18 times another 18 right here. Okay? So 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, 8 times 1, that's an 8. Sorry, 8 times 1 is an 8, but plus we have to plus that 6 there. So we go 8 and then plus the 6, that's going to be a 14, so I write that 14 there. Okay, and then we go this 1 times 8 right here, and so that's going to be an 8. And we go 1 times that 1 right there, and that's going to be right there. Drag all this stuff down. 4. 4 plus 8 is 12, so I write 2, carry my 1 up there, and then 1, 2, 3, so that's going to be 324. So inside this brackets right here is going to be 324. Now, that was our tough part of the math thing right there. Now we have this plus 5 to the 0. So anything to the power of 0 is just going to simply be 1. So that's going to be 1. Now we're going to do this one right here. And what we have right here is negative 5 cubed. So this is going to be a negative 5 times a negative 5 times a negative 5. And so 5 times 5 is 25. And since we have two negatives, that's going to be a positive. So it's going to be positive 25. And that's going to be times negative 5. So positive times a negative, that's going to be a negative. And 25 times 5, that's 125. Okay? And so now we're going to have minus 125. And that's going to be inside those brackets there. So 324 plus 1, I think I can do that. That's going to be 325, and divided by minus 125. So now what we can kind of do is that's going to be kind of our more or less our final answer right here. So we're going to have our answer is going to be, I'm going to put it in a fraction form. I'm going to go 325 over 125. So you can write it kind of like that and negative in front of there. Now this can be reduced, and how this can be reduced is that we have some of these nice numbers right here, and I can see that I can take a 25 out of the top and a 25 out of the bottom. So I can take a 25 out of the top, and that's going to be make that one a 13. And we're going to take a 25 out of the bottom, and that's going to make that a 5. So we can leave it as an improper fraction if we want, and leave it as negative 13 over 5. So I would like you to get a little bit of practice on this in our Math 9 textbook, page 66, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 11. And you don't have to do all of them. I just wrote some of the letters up there for you to practice on. Okay? See you in the next video.